Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 157. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Daredevil Season 3, The Fantastic Four First Steps, PlayStation State of Play, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and more. But as usual, we will begin with our recent activities, and I'll go first. So there were two movies that I saw. Actually, one of them I forgot to put on last episode's notes. But anyways, it's called One of Them Days. It stars Keke Palmer and SZA. You may or may not have heard about this. It is a comedy movie, and it is pretty good. I think that, it pretty much does everything that I would have wanted from it. It is very over the top, very, very fun. I think if you are looking for a movie to watch this Valentine's Day, you can watch that, or obviously Captain America. But that has been getting good reviews, which we'll talk about next episode with our own opinions on it. But anyways, the other movie that I saw was a pretty weird one. It's called Love Me. It stars Kristen Stewart and Stephen Young, and it's about these two characters. They're both sort of sentient AI kind of thing. One's a Bowie, one's a satellite, and they sort of learn what it means to be human through things on the internet and sort of all that stuff. It's very weird. People describe it as like Wall-E, but like bad, which like I get, because like once like the gotcha moment hit for me personally, I was like, oh, okay, like I get it. And I kind of like it, but I could see why a lot of people wouldn't, because it is very confusing and very weird. It felt like that they were trying to do a lot with the sort of very short runtime, which I do like. I do like that the movie is like less than an hour, 30 minutes, which is pretty good. But it did feel like that they were doing a whole lot with not a lot going for it kind of thing. But yeah, Kristen Stewart, Stephen Young, I was definitely going to be there day one either way. So I was glad I watched that. And then I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, especially this past week, because my girlfriend pointed out, hey, the mid-season's coming up. That means we have to hit gold to get the skin. So, me and my girlfriend, we don't mind playing ranked, but our other two friends, Kofi and Louie, they are not so fond of it, which I understand because, there's like that added pressure, whether you want it there or not, when you hit like the rank queue, if you will. So, me and my girlfriend, we don't really mind. We don't really care. And obviously that was sort of like the same mindset we had going in playing as four. Now, I'll be honest, Damian, we went on a fucking streak. We were winning like nearly every single game. I think during that night, we might have played like 10 games and we lost maybe one. But that's just because, we play a lot of like quick play, just like together. So we know how to communicate, and sort of all of us play a very varied amount of characters, varied roles and all that stuff. And when we stick to that role, we stick to it, right? So when me and my girlfriend once again played yesterday, just by ourselves, just us two, there's a lot of people switching characters back and forth, switching to different roles, yada, yada, yada. Some people were playing dog water really bad. So yeah, obviously that is sort of like the two sides of the coin of like the ranked experience, whether you play with like three of your friends or if you play with like just one duo. And I cannot imagine playing that game solo because, no one talks, honestly. I think if you go higher in ELO, people will start talking more, which is obviously understandable because people want to win, actually want to communicate and won't, be weirdos about it. But yeah, that was definitely something that we got very frustrated at just playing with us too, because it was just like people are just running it down, or someone is like sticking to a certain character and they're playing really bad with it. It's like, hey man, you want to switch roles? Or people just constantly switch roles back and forth, and like all of a sudden we don't have a tank, we got like 4 healers going on, yada yada yada. So maybe you could speak to that experience, Damian, because I know you played a lot of Overwatch ranked back in the day.
I feel like with Overwatch, like I played a lot. I got to like plat, and then I was just like, I'm over it. Just because like I also felt like I don't know how Marvel Rivals like rank works. Like I don't know if like the game modes act a bit different. Like when you pay payload in Overwatch ranked, you do it like both sides, right?
Yes.
Like, does it work the same way?
Same thing. Yep.
Okay, so it does like the both sides thing. So you like attack, defend. So the games are longer in general, and then people are gonna get more upset and like more annoyed about stuff. But it's also like what you said. Like you probably should like. You should know a lot of different roles and stuff, but also like stick to one if like, you see like the team needs something. Like I always just fill anyway. I will say I'm probably like this game is probably the most where I feel like I am more of a support main than anything else. Like usually in other games I like to fill or whatever. Like I don't do too bad as DPS or tank. I don't think so, but like support definitely feels the best for me in this game in particular. I don't know why. Like whenever I play DPS, I feel like I either pop off or I just die a lot. And tank, I feel like I'm not doing enough. So like I feel like support, especially with like Cloak and Dagger and stuff. I love Cloak and Dagger. So they're a little broken at the moment, to be honest. Like they get the ult way too fucking fast. But Yeah, I mean, Mario Rivals is still like a really fun game. I've been enjoying it a lot. I haven't been playing it as much. Like, I have like 30 hours, and I see you guys have like double my playtime at this
Oh
point.
yes.
So, um, but I'm still really liking the game a lot. Like, I think it is like a nice competition to Overwatch. Overwatch just released like this spotlight thing where they're like introducing like new game modes and they're freshening up the gameplay experience, and that's cool. Like, I it's not like I want to hate Overwatch or anything. It's just like Blizzard hasn't really given me a lot to like about Overwatch. So now that they have a really healthy competition with Marvel Rivals, I feel like we could get like these two games to like make each other better, right? So
Yeah.
but right now I do think Marvel Rivals is like a better time at the moment. I feel like recently I was playing like some Storm, like just to do some dailies and stuff. I'm like, oh, she's fun as hell. Like, I didn't even like play her. Like, she's really fun. So yeah, there's always like a bunch of different characters. We're getting the Thing and a Human Torch soon at some point, so that's gonna be fun. And yeah, honestly, Mario Rivals has been a good time. So, and it looks like they've been listening to a lot of feedback because I think there was supposed to be a rank reset.
Yes.
But they didn't. They're not going to do it anymore. So
yeah, so
that's
shout
cool.
out to the devs because there was a mid sort of dev update. They were like, yeah, we're going to have like a mid-season rank reset. And as soon as that happened, everyone went on Twitter, social medias were like, hey, like that's a bad idea. And in less than 24 hours, they're like, hey, yeah, we're not going to do it. I was like, oh, damn, like that is very, very fast turnaround. And they are obviously listening to their community because, Blizzard doesn't necessarily do that as much, or even Riot Games. I don't know, Damien, if you've been following like the Hex Tech.
I've been hearing stuff. Yeah,
with the whole Hex Tech chess situation, which, I have like 45 keys and I'm just like, I can't get any more chess by playing the game anymore. So, but yeah, that's a whole other topic. And I think Riot in and of themselves are very business focused, and I think that's why they are still under fire for a lot of things that they're doing. But then again, I feel like League of Legends players are the most addictive gamers on the planet because they will only play that game, and even though they hate the game so much, they will continue to play it until something clicks or something happens that they're just like, all right, I'm done, kind of thing. But that's a whole topic for another day. But yeah, Marvel Rivals is very, very fun, and if you play ranked, just be warned about weirdos and low elo players ruining your lobbies. Anyways, so the last thing that I've been doing is I decided to read Ultimate Spider-Man, the 2024 comic. It is still ongoing, and this is probably the best comic book of last year alongside Absolute Batman, because those two comics, they take those iconic characters and they take something away from them or sort of change them. So for example, with Ultimate Spider-Man, not to like get into spoilers or anything, because I recommend anyone that's a fan of Spider-Man to read this book. It is so freaking good. Go out, go get the trade paperbacks, go to your local comic book shop, see what you can do there. But yeah, pretty much this is a 35-year-old Peter Parker, and he finally becomes Spider-Man. And the reason for that is because there was some stuff within the Ultimate Universe where like the maker took away the sort of origin stories of like all of these heroes, and he pretty much took away the bug that bit Peter and was like, like you're not going to become Spider-Man. So now he's 35 and he decided that, I want to be Spider-Man. And he's learning about what that means to be a hero. And there's a bunch of things within this world that they turn around with certain characters and whatnot that you wouldn't expect, but they're in the story and they use names and whatnot. Like, it is very interesting, very, very cool. I am loving it so far. It is worth the hype. I feel like if you are trying to get into comics, especially in today, because I know it is very, very daunting, because you're like, oh my God, do I have to read everything? No, you don't have to fucking read everything. But you can start with this. If you love Spider-Man, like I said, if you love Spider-Man and you know a lot about his characters, his mythos, etc., this book will do it justice. And obviously, Jonathan Hickman is sort of a renowned comic book writer within Marvel, especially, and he's doing a fantastic job here. So I've only read the first 10, but I cannot wait to go to my local comic book shop and catch up on there.
Alrighty, so now for my stuff. So I have two games here. Then we got the Daredevil Season 3 discussion. So first I'm playing Rift of the Necrodancer. So this is sort of like a spin-off of Crypto the Necrodancer, same development team and everything. I never like gelled with Crypto Necrodancer because I was bad at it. Basically it was like a roguelite dungeon crawler where you had to keep with the rhythm of a beat, right? And I was just really bad with it. But I respected it though. Like I thought it was a really good game. I was just bad at it. Then I played Cadence of Hyrule, which they released a few years ago, where it's basically the same gameplay, like that rhythm dungeon crawler type thing, except it's like based on Zelda. So, got like remixes of Zelda music and all that, and that game was great. I really enjoyed that game a lot. I think it was also like a roguelite. I forgot. Like it would like reset what overworld you got and stuff. I think that's how it worked. It's been a few years, but it was a really good time. Like the game looked beautiful. The music was great. I felt like the combat clicked with me a bit more. Also, it was just a bit easier as well. Mostly because it was like enemy pattern patterns were like based off Zelda, and I was more familiar with that. So Kingdoms of Hyrule I really enjoyed. And then I think it was like a year ago they announced this game, which was more of a sort of like a pure rhythm game. So the main gameplay is basically Guitar Hero. Like, you know, you got like you only have 3 lanes in this one, but you have lanes of notes coming in and you press the buttons, right? But the twist for this game is each note is like an enemy type. So it would be like a basic green slime is like, you know, just hitting a single note. But then you have other wacky shit. Like you have like bats coming in and they like, when you hit the note, they like bounce back and forth between each note or whatever. Then you have like zombies that kind of hop around diagonally. Then you have like people that like charge like 2 spaces, so you gotta get ready to hit it like every other beat or some shit. It gets really hectic, but it's a lot of fun. It really does a lot to like sort of like change the rhythm game formula, because you know in most other rhythm games you have like you hit the note or you hit the hold note, right? And then it kind of just goes fast based on what song you're doing. This one you have a lot more to pay attention about. Like you have to worry about the actual speed of the song and hitting the notes, but you also have to worry about like what enemy types are coming in. You have to like make sure you're prepared to like switch your hand around so you're like hitting the right enemy when they're about to bounce around and shit. It's really fun, but also like pretty hard. But I'm really enjoying it. It has a cute little story mode too to take you through all the songs, and sort of the 2 other gameplay modes, which is the sort of Rhythm Heaven mode, which was also like advertised. You know, if you played Rhythm Heaven, it looks exactly like that. You know, cute little mini games where you know, very simple mini games where you just, you know, do a little beat and do like a cute little mini game. Those are a lot of fun. And then you sort of have like these boss fights that kind of act like Rhythm Punch Out basically, and those are a lot of fun too. But sort of the main gameplay mode is that Guitar Hero type mode, and I think they kind of innovated on that pretty well. The, you know, art's great, the music's pretty good. Been really enjoying it so far. It's a really fun little indie game. Definitely recommend it. It's like $15, so not too bad at all. So definitely recommend it if you like Crypto Necrodancer or just like a good rhythm game. And it's also pretty fucking hard.
Recommend that to my brother because he's a huge Guitar Hero Rock Band guy. So I want to see.
Yeah, again, it does shake up. Yeah, it does shake up the formula quite a bit. Like I can see it being a bit too overwhelming if you just want to hit the fucking notes, because you have to see a lot of enemy tells and stuff. But I think it's really cool. So you know, it innovates on a you know, formula that's pretty done to death at this point. So it did a pretty good job. All right, so next one is Civ 7. So this is a big one. So I played a shit ton of this over the last like week. And, you know, this game is very divisive at the moment. Right now it's like a 50 on Steam. Like people are very divided. I mean, it's a new Civ game. People are going to feel like this always. But, you know, the main thing and the main criticism that people really don't like about this game is the UI. And the fact that it does feel like the game was rushed to get out the first quarter, right? Like I feel like 2K wanted this game to be their big game of the first quarter, and then Borderlands to be like their game for the next quarter, right? So like that's why I felt like this game was kind of rushed out the door. And yes, the biggest negative of the game is the UI. The UI is very bad, and it's kind of like the first thing you see, right? So when the game first came out, I saw a lot of negative reviews on Steam just based solely on the UI, and I really can't blame them. It's very bad. It's just really ugly. It's just big gray boxes everywhere. The game doesn't tell you anything when you're hovering over shit, which is really bad for a game like this because you want to have all the information available at all times. And when I'm like digging through menus to make sure what I'm doing is actually like helping my towns or cities or whatever, you know, that's a big problem. So yeah, you know, the game has been lambasted for that, like over the course of many reviews and stuff. But honestly, I think all the other changes they've done to this, you know, to this Civ in particular has been really good. You know, this game has really shooken up the formula. When you pick a civilization, you're not just picking a civ plus a leader. Now, when you start up a game, you pick a leader individually from their civilization. So you could pick like Benjamin Franklin and then go to like the Aztecs or whatever the fuck, right? So you could do that now, and that kind of gives it a lot more flexibility. So you could kind of pick like a leader that's good in science, and then you could pick another civ that's also good in science, and then like kind of like synergize with that shit. And it feels great. Like I think the leader switching feels good. The game also has another mechanic with the ages. So in other Civ games, the ages didn't really matter too much. It was kind of just like where you were at in the game. Now the game is broken into like 3 different ages. You have like antiquity, exploration, and the modern age. And each one of those have like different victory conditions. And they kind of make into like a full game of Civ basically. And I like this a lot because I feel like Civ games are very long, and they still are. It still takes like 12 hours to beat like one game or whatever, because you know that's just how the genre is. But with this new age system, it basically takes like maybe 4-ish hours, maybe 3 hours on standard speed to beat each age, which feels a lot more digestible. So I feel like I could beat an age in a day and just like, you know, stop for the day. I'm like, okay, that felt rewarding. I'm just gonna stop and like pick it up tomorrow or whatever. and then you don't really lose your train of thought or anything, since Civ is like this just long train of thought. That's why the game is so addicting, because it's just like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that. So bringing up the game in like 3 distinct eras, I think is a really smart move. It also adds the ability to switch civs in between ages. So like you have a different set of civs for antiquity, and then you have a different set of civs for exploration, and then another set of civs for modern age. And I saw some discussion online where people don't like this because they feel like you're not really building up your own civilization or whatever throughout the ages. I personally don't care about like the immersion or whatever. I just more like it based on a purely gameplay, like mechanical standpoint, since each civ you pick for that age is always going to be relevant for that age. So, for example, in Civ 5 and Civ 6, if you pick the Aztecs, you would get like a warrior, like a unique warrior unit that only they have, but it's only really useful for the first like 20 minutes of like a 12-hour game, right? And that doesn't feel good. Like I always like picking them because you see the immediate unique unit, and that's cool. But then they become irrelevant after that. And then, this kind of happens again in Civ 5 where like maybe you pick Japan and they get samurais in the medieval age, but then they don't have anything for like the first like 6 hours, right? This game addresses that by making sure each Civ in each age has unique units that could be used immediately and unique buildings that could be used immediately. And I think it works really well. I think the Civ switching works super well. You can also like change the game plan on the fly. So maybe you're doing like a culture thing in the first age, and then maybe you could switch it up by switching your civs. If someone is getting ahead of you in culture, you could like switch to scientific or whatever for the exploration age. It just adds some flexibility and stuff to the game, and just makes it so you have this unique toys to play with every age. And I personally really like the ages in Civ switching a lot. Maybe it might need some tuning up, like there's a lot of little things that happen in between ages, like you lose all your army units. You keep some, and if they're sucked up into your commanders and stuff, like that gets saved. But there's a lot of things that happen in between ages that people don't like, but they're probably going to iron it out. But overall, I think all the major gameplay changes they've done to Civ 7 have been really good. It just needs maybe a bit more refining. But I'm personally a big fan. I felt like Civ 6 I didn't play too much of because it just felt a bit too similar to Civ 5, but also like they added like new things that made me annoyed, like the district system I didn't really like. I didn't like how culture worked in Civ 6 either because I never understood how tourism worked. So this game I feel explains itself pretty well. It takes away a lot of the micromanagement you would do with workers because they're gone now. They have like a new system where you just like grow your town and then select a tile to improve or whatever. All that stuff is great. And that's where it kind of gets, sort of mixed for a lot of people, because obviously the UI stuff is objectively bad, like they're going to fix that, but all these major systems that I personally like, I know there's some people that just don't like it at all, right? So it's definitely like a game where I wish it was a demo, because it's hard to recommend it, because I'm like, yeah, I like all the major changes, so like I think it's cool, but even if you're a fan of Civ, I'm like, maybe just wait until the next, like the first expansion or whatever, and see if it clicks or whatever, or wait if it's on sale or something, because you really have to do a full game to really understand what Civ 7 is trying to do, and I personally like it a lot, but I think other people would bounce off of it if they're not like vibing with the leader changes and the different civ switching and ages and shit. So it's definitely a diverse, like like a game that's gonna have a lot of conflicts like every new Civ game does, but I personally really enjoy all the big changes, and I kind of give them Firaxis a lot of credit for changing up a formula so much in a mainline entry like this. So I think the game is super great. I've been having a good time with it, and it just makes me like feel better about the game that they've been putting out updates really quickly. And I know this is probably the worst this game is going to be, and I really like it a lot. So the game's just going to go up from here. But I totally understand people that are disappointed with the game. I will say, like, don't buy it now. They probably wait unless you're a really hardcore Civ fan or you're okay with these big changes. Then sure, buy it. But yeah, definitely like watch reviews, watch extended gameplay videos, see if it works for you. Because for me personally, I like it, but I know it's very, it's pretty mixed for a lot of people right now. So, but I like it a lot.
Okay.
All right. So, Daredevil season 3. So I finished Daredevil season 3.
Yes,
and I thought it was fucking amazing. So, I've been hyped up on this season from my brother and from Travis for years now, ever since it came out. And I'm always like, yeah, I need to watch this eventually. And, now that I finally got to it, I finally saw the light. I'm like, yeah, this shit is very good. I just like it so much because, like I said before in the previous seasons, like Matt isn't like, yeah, he's like super powered, I guess, but like not really. He still is just a guy. So the tensions always feel like super high in the show, where again, it doesn't even feel like a superhero show at points. Like it just feels like this really solid, just drama crime thing. Like obviously we lost a little bit of that in season 2 with the hand and stuff, which I still enjoyed. But this is like more like basically like a true sequel to season 1, which I very like really enjoyed a lot. And yeah, before I go on to all my stuff, do you want to say anything?
Hey man, like I love Daredevil. I feel like now I could confidently say that like he's my favorite superhero right now. Next to Spider-Man, obviously the other red superhero at Marvel and also from New York. But yeah, I mean Daredevil season 3 over the past 2 weeks. I knew Damian was gonna rewatch it himself, so I was rewatching it, sort of having it on my second monitor while I'm playing Bakaru or whatever the hell I'm doing. I always just had it on, and over the course of 2 weeks, I rewatched it twice, and a lot of the season just clicks. Like a lot of the stuff that happened within season 1 and even season 2, it all comes back here, and it is just great. It's just so awesome to see it all come together. And, even though Matt never puts on the red suit, he is Daredevil. He does everything that he would normally do without the costume and then some. And obviously the supporting cast with Foggy and Karen. When Karen got her own solo episode, shout out to the fucking clown on Twitter who got clowned on for saying, yeah, I skipped that episode. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot, because that episode is great. It obviously revolves all around Karen, from her backstory all the way up into what we're doing with now, where she's a target and Matt has to save her. Meanwhile, Bullseye's also trying to get her. So yeah, like there's just so much to like about the season. Agent Nadeem, a whole new original character that they made for this season, and he fits so well because he's a parallel to who Jack Murdock was, which is another character who they keep bringing back into the show, even though he dies and he's sort of like the sort of tragic story of Matt's past, but he's so integral into who Matt is and sort of all of that backstory, and then obviously Maggie and everything like that. So I'm not gonna go on too long because I obviously want to hear what Damian has to say. So
yeah, basically, I love like the whole season just felt so hopeless until the very last fucking episode. Like it really showed how powerless the whole cast were and how strong Kingpin was at this point. That's what he is at this point. Was this whole season. Like he was always like 5 steps ahead. He makes such a great antagonist and villain throughout the whole series basically. And every time I thought like they got him, they didn't. Even up to like the second to last episode, I'm like, oh, they're gonna get him. Like, and maybe the last episode is like this last battle or whatever. But it really isn't until that last episode is where they get the W. Because the whole season they're just taking L's the whole fucking time. I'm just like, damn man, it feels so hopeless like the whole season. But it kind of helps every character grow, and I kind of have like a whole thing of every character here. Obviously with Matt, he basically just gives up being Matt this whole season. Like he's just in Daredevil mode the whole time. Like he basically does it. Like the only time he goes into like Matt mode is when he's trying to do Daredevil stuff, right?
Yeah.
So with this, like obviously his main conflict if he wants to kill Kingpin the whole time. Like he's just thinking about this constantly throughout the whole season. And I love the parallels between different characters that have done the deed. You have like Karen, who feels very regretful for killing Wesley and stuff, and she's telling Matt like, hey, don't do it, like you literally won't be the same person. And then obviously you have the more unsubtle one with Bullseye being in the Daredevil suit.
Yeah, shout out to Dex, bro.
Yeah,
shout out to Dex.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk about Dex more in a second, but I love the scene where he's like killing everyone in the newsroom or whatever. Because it just shows that like if Matt does go through with this, like he's basically looking himself in the mirror. If he does end up killing Kingpin, like he's gonna become like this monster that he swore he wouldn't be, right? Like he wants to be a protector of New York and not whatever this is, right? So I love like the whole time he was dealing with this dilemma, and it kind of like fits in with sort of like religious side of stuff and with his mother too. Like obviously not everyone is good. Like his mom, like obviously did a horrible thing with abandoning him or whatever, but she's done her best throughout her whole life to, make amends for that and stuff. And, Matt has made plenty of mistakes too. Everyone in the show isn't innocent, which is why I really like this show a lot. Like it shows that even though you've done horrible things, you can still do great things, right? Like you don't have to let your mistakes define you. And I think a lot of characters like Nadeem, like they really showed that sort of overarching theme throughout the whole show. Like Karen, you know, she was like in her episode, you know, obviously she was like, you know, not doing super well or whatever, but she didn't let that define her either. She went on to do great things, you know, Nadim as well and Maggie as well. So I like how this show kind of shows that even though you make really big fuck ups, you don't have to let that really drag you down, and you know your character will show through at the end, right? And you know, speaking of Nadim, you know, Nadim was an amazing character. You know, like I was wondering where we're going to go with him. Like at first I thought he was a good antagonist, you know, just to get like, you know, Karen and Foggy being like, oh, you know something. And then obviously he's being played by Kingpin the whole time. But, you know, like I think him slowly realizing that he was being played by Kingpin was great, right? Like he was like, okay, like you just see his slowly degrading mental health throughout the whole season. Like he starts off, you know, like angry. He's like, he wants more money and gets a promotion, which was also orchestrated by Fisk, which was insane that he went through that much length. He went so 5D chess. He cut his sister-in-law's health insurance so he'd be desperate enough to go to Kingpin so he could manipulate him into this whole situation. When his boss said that, I'm like, holy shit. So anyway,
Yes.
Nadim was a great character. You know, I love seeing his sort of mental degradation throughout the whole season where, you know, again, he starts out confident. He kind of thinks he knows the answers. He knows there's like some conspiracy happening. But then as he slowly learns, he's being played by Kingpin. And then we got to the episode where his boss shot, you know, basically his other higher up. I was just like, holy fuck. It's
oh
just
my
like,
God,
holy
yes,
shit.
Yes, that moment... That moment still lives rent free in my head because it's just like
I got jump scared, bro. It's like, holy shit.
Yes, because it's like a nice, calm interaction, and then you hear the gunshot, and then he's just like dead, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah, so that part was amazing, and Nadim's actor like did such a good job throughout the next like I guess like 2 or 3 episodes where he was just like in shock the whole fucking time. Like my man was in a daze, like he was just there following Fisk's orders, but he's like, what am I doing the whole time? Even when he's driving Dex to the church, like to like kill Karen and shit, he's just like, what am I doing, right? And it's really awesome to see him turn around, and just like I was talking about with that overall theme of like I guess this show or season, you know, he eventually does do the right thing even after the system fails him. He does do that like dying video that does get Fisk at the end, and it was just great. Like, and the way he went down to, like, he knew he was going to win against Dex, but he still tried to put up a fight, right? So just a really, really good character. Just really complex, had a lot of things going on with him. It was great. You know, obviously he was going to die because, you know, I don't know how you would get out of that at that point, but still like really good character, really well written. And then that does kind of go into Dex as well. I thought the Dex stuff or Bullseye was really good. You know, I like how they don't play him as, obviously he's a psychopath, but they don't play him as a psychopath at first. Obviously he's stalking Julie, which is fucking weird.
Oh yeah.
But like, like he was doing that even before Kingpin was like manipulated him into becoming Bullseye. But I do like he was really trying hard to get better the whole season. Like he was trying to like not let him get to his head. You know, he was constantly listening to his therapist on his little Walkman or whatever. Like, you know, he was doing his best to stay calm and to have like some structure in his life. And I do like he wasn't completely off the rails like immediately. Like it took him like a few episodes to get to that point. And obviously once he does go full like Bullseye, he goes full like wearing the Daredevil suit, and then Matt's just like, who are you? And I'm Daredevil. I'm just like, dude. And every fight scene with him is just so good. The way he ricochets everything off the fucking walls and shit, just pinpoint accuracy. I love the dichotomy between Matt and him being more of a melee fighter, and then Bullseye being obviously more long range. You know, all those fights were super fun. Just a very fun antagonist. You know, obviously he goes completely batshit towards the end. So, but yeah, he was a great character as well. Great antagonist. Yeah, I don't know too much about like Daredevil lore, so I wasn't like aware that Bullseye was like one of his major antagonists either. So it was cool to see him like in this, and it was cool to see him like wear that Daredevil suit, like I said before, because it kind of like mirrors Matt in like a bad way, right? So I thought that stuff was great as well. And of course, we got Foggy and Karen as well. You know, Foggy continuing to be the heart of the show. You know, constantly being in Matt's corner the whole time. You know, even though Matt is like the worst friend ever, like he always does his best to not abandon him, because he's like, well, everyone else abandoned him, and you know, I don't want to do that either. So you know, my bro is bro for life. Like he was never going to let Matt down, and you know, it was cool to see that in contrast with Karen, where Karen's kind of going through a lot of the same stuff Matt is going through, and she's having a lot of dark thoughts about like what she's done, what she's gonna do, like how everyone is also like kind of like going away from her as well. So seeing Foggy kind of bring the two all three of them back together was really great. It was really cool to see Foggy never giving up, in the system, even though the system constantly fails. He knows eventually it would stick, and it does in the end. Well, until Born Again, I guess. But it's really cool to see Foggy continuing to be like the big heart of the show. And like I said, the Karen episode was amazing as well. It was really cool to finally see her backstory after like they hinted at it for the last like few seasons already. Her talking about her brother and stuff, and it was cool to finally see all that explored and see how how down her life was until she went to New York and met Matt and Foggy. It's crazy that some people would just skip her episode. I'm like, how are you gonna do that? Like Karen is amazing. Like her scene with Kingpin when she was like telling him I killed Wesley, and Asham said like fucking peak. She's a fucking monster this season. I love it. Like when she was like threatening those like cat callers too, she just pulled her gun like, yo, I'm gonna fucking shoot you if you don't leave now.
Why
like,
are you still here? I'm like, yes.
I like get her. So she's awesome in this season. She goes through a lot of changes as well, and I'm happy to see that both of them are back for Born Again, because again, I cannot imagine the show without Foggy or Karen at all. And then finally, I guess it's like the finale. Obviously Kingpin himself, he's amazing, right? Like there's not much to say about that. Like I said, always 5 steps ahead, always knows how to do things. Even when you do get to him, you're gonna get your ass beat. He's just, and that's what makes him so good, is that he manipulates people. He's always 5 steps ahead, and it's something I hope they get right in Born Again, because I feel like Fisk in the MCU hasn't really been doing that as much. Like in Echo and what was the other thing? Oh, Hawkeye. I feel like he let his emotions get to him too much in those shows, and he was too in the fight too much. Like I feel like Kingpin is really threatening when he's like doing all this bullshit, when he's like moving everything against you, making like gaslighting everyone against each other. Like it's awesome. Like this is what Kingpin is really strong at. And obviously when he does fight you, you're gonna get a good fight too. Like that 3-way fight between Daredevil, Kingpin, and Bullseye was amazing. Just, Bullseye constantly wanted to kill fucking Vanessa the whole time, and Matt trying to protect him. Them fighting each other all the way. Like when Matt and Fisk team up to hit Bullseye and like knock him out, and then they fight each other too. Amazing. And then that final speech that Matt gives to Kingpin saying like, I won. Like I was just like, fuck yeah, fuck you. that final speech Matt gives was amazing. And it was just like a masterpiece of a season. I just love their dynamic as hero and villain. Him unmasking himself to show like, I trust you with my secrets, so I won't put Vanessa in jail and you won't hurt Karen and Foggy. It kind of makes that trailer in Born Again makes more sense, where they both like have this weird respect. They have this weird respect for each other. Like I love that dynamic. Like they hate each other's guts, but also respect each other like as like adversaries, and it's awesome. So yeah, overall, just a fantastic season. One of my favorite superhero things probably ever, and one of my favorite shows. Like it's definitely up there. I don't know where the fuck I'll put it, but it's definitely up there. I think the last time I felt this hype about a show, like, or at least a season, was Attack on Titan season 3 part 2. Like that whole sequence was also fucking incredible. So like in this, I feel the same way. Like this whole sequence is fucking incredible. So just brilliant characters, great action, great drama. It had everything you would want. And, after watching the Born Again trailer, I'm even more hype. I understand things now. Like Dex is there. Obviously Kingpin is mayor, and they're going to do stuff with that. Daredevil might have, got over the edge or something to make him stop being Daredevil or whatever. But yeah, very excited for the new show. It has big shoes to fill now that I've watched season 3. But I guess my overall thoughts of each of the seasons, like if I had to give like number scores, I'd probably give like season 1 like a 9 out of 10. Season 2 was probably like an 8. Defenders is probably like a 6 or a 7. Like I enjoyed it, but it was whatever. And season 3 is like a 10 out of 10. Like it is like incredible, fantastic. If you haven't watched it yet, I've seen the light. Definitely watch it before Born Again. You won't regret it. So yeah, fucking awesome.
Yes. Daredevil season 3, I remember when I first watched it back in like 2018 or whatever, because this is when this season came out, 2018 on Netflix. And it is crazy to me that this season is over 5 years old at this point, because it's like, where's the time gone kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when I first watched it, I was like, damn, he really never did put on the suit. But like, it does make sense for Matt's character to to not do that. And, after rewatching it so many times now over the past couple of years, I'm like, yeah, this season's just peak. Just shout out to Jay Ali, who plays Ray, because he does such an amazing performance. When you first meet him, you're just like, who is this guy? Like, why is he important? And then you see him get entangled up with Fisk, with Daredevil, with everything going on. And I just love it. I just love to see this character do what he was doing. Like I said, brand new original character, which is something that I feel like the MCU should do more of, is just bring in new people, develop these new characters, make them fit into the world where it makes sense, and sort of have them twist the story in ways that will make it perfect, kind of thing. Obviously with Dex, I love that, as Kingpin is reading his file, we're seeing those backstory sort of flashbacks of like his childhood.
That was great too. Yeah,
just like seeing how they did that, making it all black and white, and sort of having Kingpin just like walk around, sort of like see like who Dex was as a kid and sort of who he eventually came to be. And he's like, I know how to fucking manipulate this guy and like sort of make him do what I need him to do. Because as soon as Vanessa comes back to New York, he's like, all right, well, Dex, you're just going to kill people when I tell you to. I'm not really your North Star that you're looking for, right? Yeah. And, everything comes together within the final episode, obviously, which, like, rewatching it, it's like, okay, yeah, like, how the fuck were they going to wrap everything up within this final episode? And they somehow make it work. I could see how maybe some people may say that, like, it's a little rushed. It's
the British guy is kind of plot devicey, not gonna lie. Like, the fact that he just gets him, like, I feel like if Matt did that from the start, like, it would have been fine. Like, my brother told me that too, like, it was a little weird that that's just how it got all resolved. But so I understand that, like, the British dude just like, oh, Kingpin is here, this is where everything is, he killed Julie, whatever. So yeah, I understand that bit, but I still think the whole season like was fucking incredible anyway, so I'm not gonna let that get me down. So
and seeing how now that I've read Born Again, I've now read the original comic for Daredevil Born Again, which you don't have to read leading up to the show, because this comic has already been adapted into season 3 for the most part. For example, things like when Matt finds out Maggie's his mom. Like, that was such an amazing reveal as well within this season, because it's like he wasn't supposed to hear that. And within the comic, the way that it happens is that he asks Maggie directly and she says no, and then he's like, I hear her heartbeat skip, and I'm like, that wasn't as cool, kind of thing, obviously. And then there's some other things in here, like obviously like with the whole Daredevil season 3, he's ruining Matt's life. Like when he was like, yeah, I had a lawyer who would like, fix up things for me. His name's Matt Murdock. I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's fucked up, obviously, because now he realizes that like the FBI is like on his side and they'll just listen to whatever the fuck he says for whatever reason. And within the book, it's actually Karen who sells out Matt's identity. So, and then what happens is that Fisk hears about it, and then the first thing Fisk does, Damian, he fucking blows up Matt's house. He blows up his house, and I'm like, okay, okay, so that's what we're doing. So that's pretty much what he's doing. He also gets like his lawyer thing like revoked or whatever. So, there's a lot of things that he does to ruin Matt Murdock's life. And then obviously, at the end, he has like that big confrontation with him or whatever. I hope, I don't remember, but this is a new printing of it. I haven't read this version of it, but it has a foreword by Charlie Cox, who is obviously playing Matt Murdock and Daredevil within the upcoming Born Again season. So that's why I bought it. But yeah, it is obviously very, very good to read the source material after you watch the adaptation, just to see like differences and whatnot. And I think that, season 3 of Daredevil has done it very gracefully to take the elements that work and sort of twist them around and make them fit within the show. And yeah, I'm just so excited for Born Again. Obviously, I have the fucking shirt I already bought. And, just seeing how this season plays out over and over again and how perfect they do it and how every single time Fisk somehow wins in the end. And then, yeah, action sequences, the fucking one shot. We didn't even talk about that. So
the prison one shot was amazing.
That was an actual true one shot. And like, because I've watched it so many times, I could see where like they would put the sort of Charlie Cox double in, and then where they would sort of sneak him back into these scenes so then he could act again. Also, freaking Foggy's mom is the same mom within the Penguin. Same actor.
I thought so. When I saw him, like, is that Penguin's mom? And
yes.
I forgot to Google it. Yeah, okay,
yes,
I wasn't going crazy.
It is Deidre O'Connell, because when I started my freaking rewatch, I was like, wait, that's fucking her. I was like, what the hell's going on? So
I thought so too. I'm like, is that Penguin's mom? And I'm like,
shout out to her. But
yeah,
this is just a fantastic, perfect season. I'm honestly like sort of losing my train of thought here, so I'll just stop it there.
But it was incredible. I'm very excited to see more Daredevil in anything now. I definitely see the light now. When we talk about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I was just like, yeah, let's go. So I see the light now.
Now you can see why every single time Charlie Cox or Vincent D'Onofrio popped up within some sort of MCU project, I was fucking excited because those guys, they love those characters. They love playing them, even if they're not one-to-one recreations of them. I love that every single time Charlie Cox has come back, it has been for like one episode, and that's it. He's just there to like do his thing and then get out, and I'm like, I love that. So yeah.
Alrighty,
all right.
But
so let's talk about general news, talking about more Marvel stuff. First, let's talk about the Fantastic Four First Steps teaser trailer. So this has been very anticipated. It has 25 million views on YouTube. That's fucking insane. And I love this trailer. I love the cast that they put together with Pedro Pascal, freaking goddamn it, I'm already
Vanessa Kirby,
freaking I know
the guy from Stranger Things, right? Doesn't he
Joseph
play,
Quinn and Ivan Mas Buckrak? I hope I said that name right. But I love this cast of characters that they have put together, and I love this teaser as well. It looks very, very good. It looks very much what people want from a Fantastic Four movie, retro futuristic type beat kind of thing. The Thing CGI is fantastic, amazing. I love that they aren't altering his voice or whatever, because I believe, I am not a Fantastic Four reader, but just judging by the character and judging by how people talk about this sort of comic book, is that like, he's very much a guy that just like wishes that, he was like back to normal kind of thing, but obviously he can't get that. And obviously that happens a lot, that'll go through his character arc, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm excited to see how they adapt that. But it was a very, very good teaser, and I cannot wait to see the full length trailer whenever that comes out. And this movie is going to be out in theaters July 25th.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks really good as well. Like, I really love the style it's going for, just like sort of like alternate, like, I guess, dimension or timeline or whatever they're doing, where the Fantastic Four are like big shit and they're like doing all their stuff. The retro future stuff looks great. Like, I think that's something like, a lot of MCU stuff, like, like it's nice to have like unique settings and stuff that's not just like in space, right? Like you could just do cool things like that in like sort of like just ultimate dimensions or multiverse bullshit, right? Like I think it looks great. All the characters look very faithful. Like the Thing looks really good. We didn't see much of the Human Torch, but like he looks cool. I think the one we didn't see the powers of was Reed. Like we didn't see him do his stretchy shit. But I'm sure it'll probably look good. That's the only thing that it's kind of hard to do live action is stretchy powers, but I think they'll do it pretty well. Galactus looks good as well when we see a bit of him in New York coming in. So definitely interested to see how they sort of like form together and like maybe defeat or not defeat Galactus, and how they kind of get plunged into like the wider MCU or whatever. But I'm just hoping it's a good movie that really, I'm not like super familiar with the Fantastic Four. Like I watched the like 2005 one when I was a kid, and like that was about it. So that's the most experience I have with Fantastic Four, besides fucking Marvel Rivals, I guess. But I'm excited to see like how they spin it with the MCU, and I think the cast is great. I think the environments look cool. It's fucking Galactus they're fighting, so I think it could be a lot of fun. So definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and I hope that Joseph Quinn, he performs his ass off, because I feel like everything post Stranger Things that he has been in has been very, very good. So I was very confused when the initial reaction of his casting, people were like, that's not Johnny Storm. I was like, I don't know. I feel like that he's a very good actor, and I feel like he could fit that role of being the goofball younger brother kind of thing very, very well. So we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, so there was some controversy with the posters with First Steps. So some of them looked. I mean, like at a glance, it looks good, and they don't say anything about. Like they're denying the AI usage of these posters, but some people pointed out some inconsistencies with like finger numbers and some other stuff like that. I'm not an expert at this stuff like at all, so I won't be able to tell you if this is right or not. It could just be like, sometimes artists do make mistakes, and maybe they do miss a finger or whatever. So, I'm not saying it is AI, but also doesn't help that Marvel and Disney have a history with using AI, and we just look at the Secret Invasion opening, right? So, it doesn't really give a lot of confidence that they aren't. But either way, I still think the posters look nice, and if they are using AI, that fucking sucks. So hopefully, they're denying they're not using it. So maybe they aren't. But this is more of a he say, she said, like, if they are using it or not. But if they deny it, then I guess they aren't using it. It could just be they're using it to touch it up or something, and maybe something got fucked up. I don't really know, but either way, it still looks good, and I don't think they're using it because, like, I think you could tell more if it was using AI, because like some things you could definitely tell when it's fucking AI, right? And this one doesn't really feel like it unless you're really, really looking at it, and at that point, those could just be artist mistakes, like by accident, right? But
yeah, I mean, there were 3 other posters that they also had. And these look a little more AI kind of thing. Like it looks like there might have been some sort of AI usage in there. Across all 4 of these posters, obviously, it looks like a mix of possibly AI and Photoshop, in my opinion. Not just because of the inconsistencies, but also, certain things that they can't just, have like the new Fantastic Four sort of stuff in there with just like a normal AI filter or like a AI generator kind of thing. So it's probably a mix of that. But even then, like, a lot of these posters, they just look sus. Like, like when you look at something that's AI generated, you could tell just by how like maybe polished or how sort of nice it looks kind of thing. Not to say that like art can't be that polished, but like there's a certain thing that you could tell with them. Like, for example, this one with like the little girl holding the thing action figure. Yeah. The people in the background look... The thing in the back, or not the thing, the people in the background... They just look weird and off. Right. And like, I'm just like, I don't know if that's like something that they did within post or whatever. I don't know. Cause, I feel like, when you're Marvel and you have got like all of this fucking money, right? Like you could hire a set amount of people to do these posters for you and with you, and you could pay them, hire them, et cetera, then obviously hire these digital artists to sort of touch them up, make them how you want to make them, and not have AI do it for you. Right. So yeah, that's just my thing with these posters, is that because they look AI generated, that's like a bad sign already, right? Whether you deny it or not is just not a good look.
No, I agree. And again, it doesn't help that Disney already has a history with using AI a lot. I have some, I guess, behind the scenes stuff with Disney, with like just for my work or whatever. And I do see they do hire a lot of AI gen type stuff nowadays. And it is pretty disheartening, especially when it's like, Disney is all about, treating animators and cool animation and stuff. But, we kind of like went far away from that, with the Disney live action remakes and, with them using AI for Secret Invasion and some other advertisements. So again, it wouldn't surprise me if it is AI. Maybe like they don't know or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But either way, it would be pretty sus. At least the movie looks good. If the movie uses AI for anything, that would be pretty unfortunate. But yeah, I guess we'll see once it comes out. It also sucks that a lot of concept artists are losing their jobs too because of like AI, because just mock it up in AI or whatever. I know the Fallout TV show, I know one of the posters for that was AI as well, because I think one of the cars looked all fucked up, which was very easy to tell. So yeah, can we not just don't do it?
Like there's other uses for AI that shouldn't be in the creative field is what I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so next up we got here is that Trouble Brews at Warner Brothers Video Games Division. There is a Bloomberg piece on this, so I will just talk about the notes I got on here, then I'll let Damian take the floor because he's played Multiverses actually. So from Suicide Squad to Multiverses, it seems like they can't catch a W. And Monolith's Wonder Woman is in danger. The game has already cost $100 million and it was rebooted at the start of 2024. It is still far from release. Warner Brothers Montreal, the people that made Gotham Knights, they pitched a John Constantine game. And then they went to go and develop a Flash game, but then it got scrapped due to the Flash 2023 movie bombing, which is not how that works. And then Avalanche Software, they are working on a Hogwarts Legacy sequel. Then Rocksteady, they are looking to return to Batman. So, yeah, it seems like the Warner Brothers division of video games they just don't know what the hell they're doing. And it seems like when you have such big IPs and you guys had a winning formula, like they were the first on the scene to do really good superhero video games with the Batman Arkham series, thanks to Rocksteady. And then, they've got all this money and they were doing all this stuff. And it seems like they really don't know what gamers want anymore. Even though it's kind of clear, I feel like it's kind of obvious. Like when you announce a Wonder Woman game, we don't want a fucking live service type beat kind of thing, We want something that is a single player superhero action adventure game. Even though we have a lot of those, we don't have one with Wonder Woman, right? So just make that. And, with the WB Montreal with Gotham Knights, I think that was supposed to be a live service game. And then they took all of that stuff out and then they released it anyways. But you could tell by like the gameplay and certain things within the game that, like this was supposed to be live service kind of thing. And then obviously them trying to make a Flash game makes sense. But them scrapping it because the Flash movie bomb that just makes no sense.
Yeah, it's just like WB has always been a mess. Like they've always been like just... from movies to games to whatever, they've always been like canceling fucking movies left and right, canceling games left and right. They always want to make maximum profit and like don't care too much about what the creators want from these things. And, that's very apparent with things like with Suicide Squad or Multiverses. Suicide Squad, I think it was pitched like as a live service game to begin with, I'm pretty sure. But even then, it was like there was a lot of things that could have been done a lot differently with that game. And I'm sure it wasn't all Rocksteady's fault. Like, I know a lot of people that worked on the Arkham games aren't even there anymore. But it still felt like a lot of pressure from WB to like, all right, you have to make this like a live service game. You have to make it like just pump out money and like just make maximum profits, blah, 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 all that corporate shit. Same thing with Multiverses. Like, that game was also pitched as a live service game first and stuff. Like they wanted it to be a Smash Brothers game that's like persistent and stuff. And, that's a good idea on paper. But then, they keep getting pressured by WB to like all these shitty systems. Like when they relaunched the game to be more profitable, that obviously led to like the game feeling way more ass to play because it took forever to unlock characters. The battle pass felt a lot more grindy, just a lot of awful just business decisions. Obviously, I'm not saying like, all the higher ups, like all it was all on WB. Like, this probably was some talk on the developer sides too. Like I'm sure like the higher ups at like Player First Games for Multiverses had some say in this awful direction Multiverses went. But they still want to make a good game. Like no one ever wants to make a bad video game. Like I don't think that's what like most developers are aiming for. Like they want to make something good. It just things just happen and then things just fall apart, right? And it's just unfortunate that a lot of WB video games aren't really doing well. Maybe besides Hogwarts Legacy, and like that's about it. And if they it's kind of crazy to want to just go for this live service like train for things that didn't even make sense. Like, like Suicide Squad, yeah, I could see that. But like Wonder Woman, where it was rumored to be one, I'm like, well, how does that even make sense, right? That they're clearly just doing this for the money or whatever. But, I guess we'll see once like they get this shit back together, just make solid like third person action games. It fits these characters way more, go back to, Arkham games. They should have just made the Flash game. Like, I don't know why, games take forever to make. So like by the time like people have already forgotten about the Flash movie, like I don't fucking remember the Flash movie anymore. Like I remember him putting the baby in the fucking microwave. Like that was funny. But besides that, like no one cares anymore. Like people would be still really hyped to see a Flash like video game because it's something we haven't really had, right? So just WB just up in smoke at the moment. Hopefully they could rebound. If anything, it probably would be the Hogwarts Legacy sequel that just seems like easy money and like people liked the first one well enough. So I feel like that'd be a nice way for them to bounce back. But yeah, so far it's not been going super hot for them. But yeah. So next we have a bunch of PlayStation news, well, sort of with this next one. So we got an exclusive from Entertainment Weekly for The Last of Us Season 2. Basically, the creators are setting the stage for a high-calorie, dense episodes. So apparently Season 2 is going to be 7 episodes, and it's going to likely end in a dramatic cliffhanger before Season 3. So I don't know where exactly that means it's going to end. Like, if we're going to, like... I feel like... I don't know if should we spoil it?
Okay, spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2. If you haven't played the game and you're saving yourself for the show, please skip ahead. All right, go on, Damian.
Yeah, so like I feel like Joel has to die early, right? Unless they're going to do like a bunch of flashbacks and they want Joel dying to be like a finale for Season 2. Because that happens like really early in the game. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they want to play more. I don't know how the show is going to be like exactly. Like it's going to be a bit different in how some things are going to go. Like they right explain here with the actress for Abby, they're not trying to be gameplay equivalent or anything. Like they want the things to be more drama, which is why she's not like bulking up or whatever to be like as buff as Abby or whatever. Which is fine. Like if they don't want to do it, they want to go a different direction, that's fine. So I'm wondering if they want to kind of like play into like maybe having more flashbacks or maybe having more backstory for Abby before killing Joel, or maybe they want to have some more stuff with Ellie in like the town with what's her face? I'm forgetting her name. What's her like girlfriend's name?
Damn, you're right. I'm gonna just type in Ellie and Dina.
Dina, there you go. Like maybe they can have more stuff with Dina and maybe deal with more of the drama with them or whatever. And then they kill Joel at the end of season 2, so they have more things to do. But then they have like a lot of ground to cover for season 3. So I'm not too sure what else is a good stopping point for season 2 that's like as dramatic, right? I'm like trying to think. I'm not too sure because the game kind of just drags. So like it's kind of hard to pick a point, which is kind of what I'm hoping for this season to really improve on the game. Again, I'm not like a hater of Last of Us 2 at all. Like I think I ended up liking it more than a lot of people did. Like I'll give it like a solid 8. Like the first one's amazing, but like, the second one does have like a lot of story problems and pacing issues. So that's something a show doesn't have to go through, which is what they're explaining here, where it's like, they don't have to be gameplay accurate. They could like, sort of show like more of the human element of it. You don't have to have like, video gamey objectives to do every episode, right? Like, I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of action. Like they said they're gonna have a ton of action in each episode and make it like, like he said, a high calorie dense episode. So there's like a lot of things happening every episode. Like, he's saying like you won't be bored every time you watch an episode, which is great. So, but also gives them more time to explore these characters, give more character to Abby that isn't after they kill Joel. So people like maybe get her more, which is something I think the game kind of fails at. Like I get that was the point, like revenge and shit. So you want to feel as blindly rage as Ellie is going through the whole story, killing these people, killing a fucking dog and a pregnant woman, like fuck you, right? Or whatever. Like I get that was the point. But I feel like maybe as a show you could kind of like give more like sympathy for Abby from the start, so you understand why she wants to kill Joel so bad, I guess. But who knows? I don't really know what they're gonna go for in terms of the show. All we know is I think they're gonna do things differently, like a bit, because Druckmann, he said like the toxic reaction to the whole game was like borderline traumatic, which I don't blame him for. People were very fucking toxic during all of the Last of Us stuff. And yeah, was the game perfect? No, but like you should never give death threats to the voice actresses or the voice actors and the game developers. That's just like borderline psychotic, right? So the whole thing could use a bit of touching up. So I am curious to see how the show kind of goes about this. Abby's character and just like the whole drama between like these two different groups of people, right? So Last of Us season 2, the fact that they have confirmed it is only 7 episodes, very interesting, because I think the first season was 8 or 9 or something like that. So they're cutting back on the amount of episodes. So you might be right, Damian, where they're going to end on that very traumatic point of Ellie's life and just like, like that's where we're going to end. And then, once we pick up on season 3, it's going to be, all of that stuff leading up to, you got Joel's brothers sort of looking out for him, Tommy, like I'm going to fucking go and kill these people myself, and then Ellie follow that trail as well. I have no idea how long that they're going to do this. They haven't said the exact episode amount or exact seasons. I think that they are going to go past season 3, but I think a season 5 might be a little too much. I don't know. Obviously, part 2 is a very dense story. Like, there's a lot of shit going on, and that's a very, very long game already. So, trying to get that into a televised series and sort of picking where to end and sort of what stories we need to change or need to enhance, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot to do here. And, that's why that they were starting the plans of adapting this game ever since like 2019, 2020, which is kind of crazy. Having Caitlin Dever not bulk up for the role, I think is fine, but I know a lot of people don't like this change because the physicality of Abby within the game is a physical visual representation of her training to fucking kill Joel, right? Like that's the reason why she was doing all that shit, because within the post game you see her, she's not as bulked up as before once all of that stuff is over within her mind, right? Like she's not doing as much sort of weight training and all of
that stuff. But leading up to the moment where she fucking kills Joel, it's like, all right, yeah, like I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. When I find him, he's dead. He's gonna get it. So I wonder how they're going to twist Abby around. And I think that my theory is that they're gonna have Abby just be just like Ellie, but just on the opposite side of the coin, where like, she's the one that got her father figure killed, and now she's going on this revenge path to kill Joel, and now Ellie's gonna go on a revenge path to kill Abby, and sort of the sort of twist and sort of the never-ending cycle of revenge, if you will. And the show already, at the end of season 1, where like fucking Joel was in that hospital, just like dead silence, nothing, just killing people in the fucking hospital. I was like, yeah, this shit's cold and great. I love it. And that really had normal people who didn't play the game, really think about like, oh, like, is Joel a good guy? And I think season 2 is going to explore that more, of that theme of like, no one is a hero in this world, just making it much cleaner, much more concise for general audiences. Because let's be fucking for real, general audiences are kind of stupid. And I think Neil Druckmann found that out with gamers as well, and it is sad to see him call that reaction borderline traumatic, because I'm like, fuck, man, like you guys really had literally did not hold any punches whatsoever when sort of the leaks happened, and obviously when the full game released and everything like that. So but yeah, I'm excited for season 2. I'm glad that they're sort of, within like these press things, they're keeping Abby's role under wraps, just to like keep that surprise of people who are looking out for the show but not actually paying attention to the games or whatever. I think that is great for them. But yeah, we'll see. I feel like when you have a show like this that is so successful, and it is coming from a video game to a show, there's obviously going to be a lot of pressure. So I hope that Neil Druckmann and Craig Martin are able to handle that, and they are able to deliver us another fantastic season of this show, even though the story is not what a lot of gamers liked.
Yeah, so I do wonder if they're gonna like, again, like not fix but maybe smooth out the story so it feels a bit better to like just people that play the game or people that didn't play the game. I think there's a lot of work that could be done with Last of Us Part 2. And I feel like just getting rid of like a lot of the gameplay elements unironically would probably make it better. So we'll see. But yeah, I guess we'll see once we get to it. I mean, I guess there are 2 good stopping points I was just thinking about. Like they could end it with killing Joel, or they could probably end it with like Ellie's story and then start up the next season on Abby's story. But I feel like that kind of like brings in the same issues that I had with the game in general, like being like that 2-part thing or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, just sort of like having too much focus on like one character or whatever. I'm pretty confident that they're still going to do the back and forth, but they're going to insert the flashback sequences and sort of maybe more of Abby's character more precisely and more smart, I would say, just because, I feel like within the game, my problem with the game was that like, like you said, it does feel like 2 halves of the game, right? Like you go through Ellie's story, then you go through Abby's. We got to know a little bit more about Abby before she kills Joel and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sure that we're going to, see more of that, sort of see more going back and forth, yada, yada, yada. But, I hope that it doesn't get too confusing and people are able to actually like follow like what the fuck is going on. And one last thing that I want to talk about is that like people are saying that like what's her name is like miscast as Ellie now that we're going into part 2. People are saying that she looks a little young. What's her name? God damn it. Bella Ramsey, I could see what people are saying kind of thing, but at the same time, it's like we already have this version of Ellie. It would be weird for them to recast her for the next season just for like visual looks. I feel like that's fucking stupid. I think within the article themselves, they just want the actors to act, like they want them to be very, very good at their job. And I think that they picked a very good cast of characters all around, not just from Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. Obviously, Caitlin Dever, I think that she is going to be a fantastic Abby, along with Young Mazzino as Jesse, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that they've picked good people to play these characters. Just because they don't look like the game counterpart doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different. And like, obviously they casted her, one, because she acts like Ellie, but also like, she did like Last of Us Part 1 Ellie, but now that we're going with Part 2, like I get what some people say she does a bit young, but I'm sure she's going to be fine. Like, I think her acting as Ellie and like getting the characters a bit more important at this point to the overall experience. So I guess we'll see. They'll probably like try and make her look a bit older, just give her like, more the raggedy clothes that she was wearing in like part 2 or whatever. And they'll probably make her look a bit older. I mean, she's like 20 something, so it's not like
Yeah.
right. So it's not like she's like 12 or whatever. So yeah, I guess we'll see once the show actually does come out. But yeah, definitely exciting, and I can't wait to experience all the fucking vitriol again with that game. So,
Everyone gonna be freaking out once again on social media when that happens. All right, so now we got PlayStation Network goes down for 24 hours, and they give active PS Plus members 5 extra days on their subscription. Yes, yeah. So someone like me who isn't subbed to PlayStation Plus, I didn't get that. But if you were these people that were affected by the whole PSN going down over that weekend, yeah, they give you 5 extra days of service, which I feel like it's kind of shit, if I'm being honest. Yeah. During that whole time, they were not communicating whatsoever. And it was so crazy, like imagine if like me and you, Damian, like we didn't play like PC games or like have like other gaming outlets to like play our, online games for. And we only had PlayStation. Fuck, man, we're screwed out on this weekend. What are we going to do inside? Obviously there's like other stuff you can do. And even for like certain single player games, you have to check in online and shit like that.
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
So it's like you can't even do that. So, it was kind of crazy that the whole network went down. They said one thing over the 24 hours, and then once it went back up, they're like, all right, guys, whoopsies, here's 5 days.
Yeah, the lack of communication was like very concerning because I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? And it just didn't say anything. So that's very irresponsible, especially because, Sony already has a history with big hacks. Obviously, the 2011 hack was awful when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The PSN was down for like a month or some shit,
Nearly
which was terrible. Yeah. So, and they have a lot of other security breaches and stuff. So, like, stuff like this shouldn't really be taken lightly. Also goes into the whole physical digital debate again, because even people that want to play single player games couldn't, because they had to check the license, and you can't really check the license if you're not online, which is stupid. I feel like if the game is installed on the console, and maybe the game, maybe the system will have to check it once, but after that, it should be a flag that you could just play the fucking game that you downloaded, right? Like, even offline, like it's kind of weird that you can't do that. So hopefully like this outage kind of wakes people up to be like, hey, we should probably like, the digital future is here to stay. Like it's not going to go away. Like, like people are just too used to it at this point, but we could fight for better consumer rights when it comes to digital ownership, right? Like I'm hoping one day we just like, oh, you own that download copy. Like that's just yours, right? Like I'm sure it's never going to happen because technically it's a license. But it would be cool to like sort of like kind of fight for more of these things. And I mean, I don't know about under the current administration, but hopefully we get stuff that like kind of like is more consumer friendly with digital game ownership, because that's a big thing. A lot of people have huge digital libraries like me. Obviously Travis tries to keep it as physical as possible, but it's just a reality where we probably should try to get better digital rights. Like probably the only storefront that's probably the most consumer friendly is Steam in terms of like video game ownership. But even then, they made a statement like you don't own these games, right? So, and it's true, you don't. So, hopefully we can fight for a better future with that, because this outage is really like, it's like, yeah, you're fucked, right? Like if it goes down.
Yeah. And it's, one thing that I was saying, I was at a Retro Island Gaming, and, Josh, the owner, he was asking me, hey, you going to talk about that PlayStation now? I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like the one thing that I said was that I feel like this is just PlayStation being complacent as to why they didn't say anything. Because like people are still going to play on PlayStation Plus, on PlayStation Network, still buy PlayStation products, etc., after the outage is smoothed over, right? And obviously they gave 5 days, which, might be substantial for some people. But for me personally, I think that that's fucking bullshit. Even though I don't have PlayStation Plus, I'm like, what are you guys doing? You guys should like offer like a free game out of like, whatever amount of titles or whatever. Because, that's what they did with the 2011 thing. They gave you like a welcome back package, and it came with like several games or whatever. So, it is kind of crazy that it went down for 24 hours. They said nothing, and then they just went about their business. I think PlayStation is getting very, very complacent when it comes to the console market, and they are literally just able to do whatever they want. And, the lack of communication is literally disgusting. I thought that was so fucking stupid of them to like not say a goddamn word about what happened, how did it happen, etc. They just gave very vague answers about like internal issues, whatever the case was. And, it went back up, and I guess people, even now, people are still just like, whatever, like they're just going to go about their business and still play on PlayStation. Cause like, what else are they going to do? They're going to fucking go to Xbox? That's not going to happen. This is my competition. this is why competition's good and why I feel like Xbox should try to step up their shit and stop buying studios and just make good games, provide a good service that people are willing to go back and play the games on there.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because I actually think Xbox is having a really good year this year. It's just that no one fucking cares. That like they're releasing Avowed, which got pretty good reviews. Indiana Jones came out last year. South of Midnight looks really cool. They have like a lot of things coming out, especially on Game Pass. I'm going to sub to Game Pass to play like Avowed and to play like South of Midnight. So one, I can save money, and two, is like $10, and you get like these like good games for that price. And I feel like they really could have hit the ball running. Because, Sony's been, like you said, very complacent this generation because they know no one's going to stop them. Like, why do they have to try harder? And Microsoft really could have been like, hey, we're going to try harder. They've been releasing good games. But, at this point, it's, too little too late at this point, which is very unfortunate. If they had like a nice stream of games coming out every year, so like you could justify getting Game Pass or getting an Xbox, all this wouldn't have been like an issue because, I guess I could segue to the stay. I guess I went to stay and play because it kind of goes into like they have fucking nothing. So like Sony's first party stuff, even like the big game at the end, which is a new Housemarque game, which I am excited for because I love Returnal. But I felt like they were forced to show that because they had like nothing else. Like after the live service bomb fiasco thing with Concord dying, they shut down that God of War live service game by Blue Point,
along with the other 10 other live service games or whatever.
The 10 other live service games. Like it's fucking over. Like they have nothing right now. Like Intergalactic probably is going to come out for another year or two. Wolverine's still fucking missing. Like that game is like they'll probably be working that a lot. Ghost of Yoda is coming out this year, but like Santa Monica, they already released Ragnarok like a few years ago. Same thing with Guerrilla Games with Horizon. So like, we're pretty anemic in terms of like first party Sony games, besides like Astrobot, which was amazing, obviously, but there just isn't a ton here. And this state of play really shows that. It's just like a lot of stuff basically almost everything we already know. Monster Hunter Wilds, yeah, cool. I'm gonna get it. That's easy. Obviously there's some like surprises in here, but a lot of them were just updates for games we already know about. So it doesn't really do like a whole lot of confidence on what Sony is cooking. Because I was expecting, honestly, and this was like the bare minimum. I was expecting like the Fair Games live service game that's supposed to come out. That's supposed to be like that Payday clone or whatever. I was expecting maybe a bit of Marathon, like Bungie's new thing. Like, and I don't even care that much about those games, but I'm like, oh, they had fucking nothing, basically. So anyway, I guess we can talk about the state of play fully. Like again, Monster Hunter Wilds looks great. I'm gonna buy it. I'll talk about it when I play it. At this point, they've been showing so many trailers. Like I'm not paying attention. I'm just gonna fucking play it when I play it. So but yeah.
The goddamn state of play. I feel like every single time one of these happen, and then people are making predictions or sort of like what's gonna happen, yada yada yada. It's always like up here, and then they go like legit like 6 feet under. Like they never show anything people are really looking forward to, or even have like super big surprises that people are like, oh my god, wow, like that was like so amazing. I feel like when like Ghost of Yoda was showed up, I think that was during a state of play, but like I feel feel like at that point, Sucker Punch had to show something, right? Like they had to like unveil like what their next game was because they've been quiet for so long. I think Ghost of Tsushima came out in 2020, so at that point, 4 years from then to now is like, all right, like you guys are working on something, right? Like is it just show us kind of thing? I talk about that in I guess my new video that I'm coming out with, which was like, was Wolverine announced too early kind of thing? Because that was announced in 2021 September, and now we're in 2025 January, and it's like, where the fuck is that game? And like I waited until the state of play happened just in case if they showed something, just in case, because I'm like, I don't know what the hell they're doing. And no offense to Insomniac, because they've been through a lot. They did Spider-Man 2, the fucking ransomware hack, and all that shit. So like they had a lot on their plate. And I think they announced it at just the right time, just because they wanted to get public opinion on like expanding their, Marvel world, et cetera, et cetera. But, this state of play, it had fucking nothing. Like I'm definitely going to play Returnal now if I want to play Saros, because I think those games might be connected in some way.
Yeah.
But, like that was pretty cool. There were some other announcements, like the Armored Core games are coming to PlayStation Classics along with Patapon 3. But I think those were also leaked or rumored or whatever. Alongside, I think the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater trailer leaked.
That was leaked, yeah.
So, like there was just a lot of shit within this state of play that was just out there in the world, or games that we already knew about, et cetera, et cetera. Like, not to say that I wasn't sort of entertained by like what what was shown. Like I think the Onimusha game, that new one that's coming out in 2026, looks fucking great.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Definitely have to go back and play those games at some point. Split Fiction, I'm still excited for. The new FNAF game, like that looks pretty cool to those FNAF fans. But, nothing really like nothing stood out here. I guess like, Sonic Racing Crossworlds or whatever. But like, Sega could have announced that on their own terms, but they were just like, hi, PlayStation, we'll throw you a bone. Here you go. Because, we're holding the closed network test on February 21st on the PlayStation 5. So you know what? It makes sense for them to show it off here. But, other than that, there was really nothing really worthwhile to show here.
Yeah, the only two things that really I guess three. One, Borderlands 4 does look a lot better in this trailer. Like, it does look like there's a lot more heavy movement shootery type aspects going on here. They use some of the new Vault Hunter abilities. Vanity Pitchford is like, we're going to have like a special Borderlands 4 direct like later in spring.
Yeah,
in spring, and we're gonna their game comes out in like September, I believe. So that's good. The game looks a lot better than what the last few trailers. So I am a bit more excited for it. But I'll say the main two games that like probably impressed me the most this whole direct was Shinobi. That game looks really cool by the same people that did Streets of Rage 4. So the art looks fantastic and like the game looks super cool. A lot of Ninja games lately, a lot of Ninja Gaiden and now Shinobi. So that's pretty neat. And of course Sonic Racing Crossworld. It looks great. Honestly, like I was very impressed for what I've seen. Sonic Team Racing was like kind of like a big letdown because it was just very like sterile. It had like no personality. I felt, I'm a big fan of the first two racing games they've done, Sonic, I forgot what the first one was called.
Sonic
All-Stars
and Sega
Racing.
All-Stars Racing, yep.
And then All-Star Racing Transformed. Like, I love the original game. I played it a lot on Xbox. I played the shit out of the DS version. Thank you, Travis, for gaming me again. I love that DS version. And obviously Racing Transform was like really good as well. Like I really like that game. And then, Team Sonic Racing kind of sucked, but this one looks like we're back. There's the transform gimmick again. There's a bunch of different characters. Got like Jet the fucking Hawk is there.
Yep.
There's like secret ring levels. I was just like, holy shit, that's secret rings. I thought it was just generic dinosaur, but I'm like, wait, that's from Secret Rings. Same thing with the pirate shipyard thing. I'm like, that's also from Secret Rings. Kind of weird they showed two Secret Ring levels and there was like Metal Harbor and shit. So and the whole gimmick is you could, I guess, go between different
worlds,
parts of levels and stuff, which seems pretty neat. So the game looks graphically really good as well. So yeah, honestly, it looks really good. So
my only question about that game is that how the fuck is that gonna run on the Switch?
I have no fucking idea. It might be a Switch 2 thing.
Yeah, maybe, because it's like, I know, the whole like PlayStation 5 thing is that like, oh my god, you could go like between worlds like instantly and all of that. So it's like, okay, like that makes sense for a PS5 game, but I'm like, this is coming to multi-platform. How is that gonna work?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, besides that game, which I am unironically excited for, everything else is like, the new Onimusha looks really cool. The Midnight Walk looks really cool. That was like that claymation game, but they showed that one before, but that one still looks pretty neat. But besides that, I was like DLCs and stuff. Metal Gear does look really good. Like, it's cool to see the Ape Escape monkey. Like, it's there from the original game. I think the other consoles are getting other stuff. I think Xbox is getting like things with Bomberman or something. So it's kind of cool. They're like, giving you a wacky mission to do or whatever. That's pretty neat. But yeah, besides that, like, Split Fiction looks really good still, but we already knew that. Monster Hunter looks good. Yeah,
Days
just
Gone
not
Remastered.
a lot. Days Gone Remastered is probably the other.
Yep.
That's probably the other big one. I mean, I'm not like a big Days Gone fan. Neither are you.
Yeah.
I know. So, like, people really glaze that game. I'm like, I don't fucking get it. But like, whatever. Like,
Bro,
it's cool
it is so crazy sometimes when I talk to like PlayStation heads and they're like, yeah, man, I fucking love Days Gone.
I don't know why. I don't know why that game.
fuck?
I don't know why that game got such a high pedigree for like no reason. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's cool that it's getting a PS5 remaster or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, and it does come with extra content, and if you want to get it and you have the PS4 version, it's only $10. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if now on the PlayStation Store you can't buy the original PS4 game for like dirt cheap or whatever, just like what they did with Horizon. I'm sure that's going to be a headline if they actually do change the price of it or whatever. But if you're interested in that remaster, it's coming out April 25th, so it's not that far away.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing was Saros, by Housemarque. I really, really enjoyed Returnal. I thought that was such a unique, fresh game. Like having this like AAA roguelite experience. It felt very video gamey. Like it felt very surreal, but it was really fun. It was definitely really challenging, but I really enjoyed it a ton. And seeing them make a new game, I guess not already. I guess Returnal came out like 2021 at this point, so it's been a while. But I'm excited to see them do a new game. It's kind of weird because it kind of looks like it's taking a lot of elements from Returnal, but it's not called Returnal 2. But I'm guessing they want to make their own like sort of universe or whatever. It's sort of like the Remedyverse where like all their games are kind of connected, because it kind of seems like they're, it's still like a Deathloop type game. The boss at the end was like shooting a bunch of lasers, which looks very Returnal-y. So I'm imagining it's going to be like pretty much a sequel to Returnal, just not called Returnal 2. So very excited for that. Housemarque, they did really good with Returnal, so excited to see the next project. But again, it feels like they were forced to show it because like it was just a CGI trailer and it's coming out next year, right? And we just started this year, so yeah.
It just seems like PlayStation is playing the back foot on this generation, a lot of it, and they're just like trying to play catch up because they made a lot of bad financial decisions with the live service push, which I think that there was room for a couple, but then they struck gold with Helldivers 2. And that was a random live service game that they sort of dropped. No one really expected that game to pop off the way it did, but it popped off. And then obviously Concord happened, and that was like the complete opposite, where they shut that shit down in less than a month. So it seems like that they're just grasping for straws in terms of like games to like actually sell like PlayStation 5s or whatever. Not to say the PS5 is like underselling or anything. Obviously there's like a bunch of PS5s in, many people's households, but it's like, what is really defining about the PlayStation 5 generation? If you take away all of Insomniac Games' titles, like all 4 of them, you take away Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Miles Morales, and Ratchet and Clank, what is there? It's like God of War Ragnarok, that's also on PS4. Horizon Forbidden West, that's also on PS4.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the other games have now been released on PC, et cetera, which is fine. I think that is completely fine to release your games on PC, but it's like, what is selling the PlayStation 5? It's really like a whole lot. I'm not going to say nothing, but it's not stuff that I think people are really enticed or really excited for year after year kind of thing,
Yeah, it sucks too, because I've as hardware, I think the PS5 is very impressive. Like, it runs things pretty well. It's really sleek. It runs things well. The SSD is great. All that stuff has been really awesome. It's just been let down with the software. There's nothing on the fucking thing. So, and I use it as like I play a lot of third-party games on it as well. Like, because if I'm going to play with something with a controller, I might as well just buy it on PlayStation 5, whatever. Like, if I'm going to play it on PC, I'm going to use mouse and keyboard, right? I just think it's more comfortable to use the DualSense or whatever. But, it's been mostly being carried by, like, third-party support and stuff like that. So, yeah. Hopefully, the next State of Play or PlayStation Showcase is a bit better when they show maybe Ghost of Yode and stuff, but we're still pretty far away from that. At this point, I'm just looking forward to the Switch 2 at this point. So, yeah.
Which we will get more information next month, because some people thought it was this month because, the dates are opposite in other territories, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, let's talk about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Now that we have a bunch of more episodes out, last time we only talked about the first 2. Now we got episodes 3 through 8. So before we get into the nitty gritty, I just want to say, this show is fucking great. Holy shit, man.
I was really like, hold up, this writing is fire.
Yeah, wait. They are really turning it around. I feel like the first 2 episodes, it was a nice way to set the stage. Even though Peter got bit by a spider from another dimension, that's fine. You know what? He's still young. He's still in high school, freshman year, if you will, all of that stuff. So, seeing him interact with Norman, seeing him interact with Harry, and sort of how his identity slowly gets unveiled to his friend group. And then Nico finds out and sort of how that falls out. And then the new supporting cast with like Lonnie and Pearl, like they're all very interesting and, very engaging to see them interact with the characters and everything like that. It's like, this shit is fucking great. Like, and, some people are even saying like it might be better than the Spectacular Spider-Man, which I'm holding my breath on that. But I think for a new adaptation of Spider-Man, it's definitely fucking up there. I will 100% say that. And with the setup that we have for the next 2 final episodes, it's like, okay, yeah, like I'm excited. I could see why Disney already greenlit this shit for 3 seasons. Because it's like, okay, whatever they're cooking, whatever sort of master plan they got going on, I want to see it all unfold.
Yeah, this show really shut me up because, I was nothing but down on this show for like a very long time, just based off like, it was supposed to be based off like Tom Holland. It was like a backstory about him, but then they're rewriting it to be its own unique thing. Then it's not really canon to the MCU. And then the animation came out and it looks a little crusty. And then the VA started saying some weird stuff. There was like a lot of a lot of things that were like happening about this show. I'm just like, oh man, I don't really care, but I'll watch it anyway. And then it really shut me up because just like you, I'm like, wait, this shit's like good. I'm like, why? Like, this is good. It's a good show. Like I really do like a lot of what they're doing here. You know, I like the setup with Norman and how they're playing with that. All his friends are really good. You know, I like how the show goes. You know, it's not afraid to just have a Peter episode and deal with the drama with that, with all his friends and all their, and you know, like Peter doesn't have to be there for the story to progress. Like the Nico and Harry episode was really cool to see them interact and get to know each other better. The Spider-Man stuff is good. It's like surprisingly violent, which I did not expect.
Oh yes,
but yeah, it's like unironically like a very good show. Like I am honestly shocked that it's this good.
Yeah, you know, and I guess we'll talk about the first chunk, episodes 3 through 5. You know, just seeing Peter, you know, develop that relationship with Norman more, because, you know, at the end of episode 2, it's like, so you're Spider-Man. I was like, ah, shit, here we go again. And, you know, Peter has that sort of internal panic of him being like, oh shit, like, you know, someone found out about my identity, you know, I fucked up, yada yada yada, and like he tries to like lie his way out of it, you know, but like he's a kid, right? So, you know, Norman sort of sees right through that because Norman is a smart character. And I love this version of Norman. The way that they're positioning him in this show is so good because, you know, I guess I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but, you know, at the point in episode 8, May's like, you know, I wish Ben was here so you had someone to look up to as like a male figure, right? And then he goes to Norman like instantly. And I'm like, shit. You know, like this is obviously like not a good way to do it. But obviously, you know, what does Peter know, right? Like he doesn't know better kind of thing. So I love their relationship as Peter and Norman, sort of having Norman be sort of very like enthusiastic to like help him. He's like, you know, I want you to be the best Spider-Man you can be. So like he got him like all of these new suits, which are like references to other like Spider-Man characters or whatever. And it was like, it's just not working. Why the fuck do I have wings? Why do I have a cape? You know, him getting beat up instantly after the whole cape fiasco. I was like, God damn it. You know? But yeah, I just love seeing this version of Norman and sort of him slowly turn into the villain that we all know him to be.
Yeah, because obviously he's like hiding something, or he's like using Peter like to do his own gains and stuff, you know, typical like stuff you would expect from the character. But like it's really cool to see him and Peter like interact and like have this like father-son dynamic. Like I think that's really cool. And you know, just like I guess Peter I guess has like honestly I think I might like the dynamic a bit more than the Tony Stark Peter dynamic. Like obviously that's more wholesome and like, you know, that's sort of like the good dynamic, and this is sort of like the him like so not corrupting Peter, but sort of like you know he's using it for his own gains basically, right? And the show really positions itself in a really unique position where it kind of reminds me of the Netflix Marvel shows, where obviously not anymore, but like when they first came out, like basically it's not canon, but like it's canon up until Avengers, and this one is like it's not canon up until like Civil War, because Civil War is like sort of like the main like conflict that's happening like in the background, right? Like the Accord is happening. You know, Captain America's on the run and all that bullshit. That it really gives like cool world building to this show. And it doesn't really feel too jarring when other Marvel characters show up either. It just feels very natural. Like it doesn't feel like it's forced in there. Like when Iron Man shows up, I'm like, yeah, that feels very believable. So yeah, but I love the dynamic between Peter and Norman in this show. Like it feels like pretty natural. And you know, Norman doesn't come off as like evil like immediately. Obviously, he has things he's hiding, but like I don't think he's like obviously like I am evil or whatever. Like he's just like
it's not like over the top, like sort of like, you know, mustache twirling sort of evil bad guy. Like it's very subtle, and they're building up to that, and I love it.
And also, I really gotta give credit to his voice actor. Norman's voice actor is very good. Every time he talks, like it's like
I forget his name. Let me just look it up real quick. But yes, he also wants to play live action Norman Osborn, which I think can be, you know, very interesting just to see what's his name? Cole Domingo, I want to say. Yes, Coleman Domingo. He is a very good actor. I first saw him within, what's it called? Goddamn. What's that fucking show that everyone hates? Euphoria. Yes. He played a very good character within Euphoria, and I was like, okay, like this guy's like a good actor. So him being this version of Norman and him wanting to be a live action version of the character, I think is great. And he even addressed the rumors of him replacing what's his name as Kang. And he was like, I want to, whenever he does a role, he wants to make that character his. He doesn't want to step into someone else's role and sort of like replace him. So, you know, respect to him. I think that is like a great way to look at acting as like a craft kind of thing and not just like entertainment, if you will. I obviously it's both things, but I think that him treating his job that way is a very good insight into like how he takes his roles and sort of characters very seriously. But yeah, Coleman Domingo, very, very good. And obviously seeing, I guess, within this section of episodes, just seeing more of just like Harry and sort of him finding out, who he is, and sort of like Norman trying to be like, shh, like go away. And he's like, you're Spider-Man. I was like, oh, God damn it. Like we're doing this shit again and everything like that. But yeah, I just like sort of like that dynamic with them three, with Peter, Nico, and Harry, sort of how that is sort of becoming a conflict because they both want to be friends with Peter, but obviously they don't want to be friends with each other potentially.
Yeah.
And sort of seeing how that plays out because obviously, Nico had a very rough upbringing and Norman or freaking Harry was sort of just given everything kind of thing.
I really like both of the characters a lot. Like this Harry is very chill. He's very different, very like I guess like playboy. Like he's very like rich. He has social media followers and stuff. But I like how they play into him being like he is a very lonely guy. And he doesn't really have any friends besides Peter at this point. And Nico is sort of the same way, just like the more typical like outcast like teenager that you would expect. And having them bond together is really good. Like I really like their bonding episodes together and like. I think Nico, all the characters feel very believable, like in this show. Like they don't feel like they're just dragging things out or like they're like being angry just to make drama. Like Nico is justifiably mad at Peter for like not telling him that he's Spider-Man or whatever, because that's like, oh, I'm like your best friend. You didn't tell me shit about that, like I thought you would tell me, but you tell him, right? So and when Harry and Nico get to bond more, like that was a very sweet episode as well. So again, I like I said before, like I'm happy the show understands that Spider-Man is not all about just being Spider-Man. There's like all these little things that make him Spider-Man as well, and I'm glad the show really gets that. Like I think that's a very important thing to get right for a Spider-Man story.
Yeah, and next thing I guess we have to talk about is obviously Lonnie.
Yes.
Last time we talked about
subplot, yeah.
Yes, we gotta talk about Lonnie because last time we were like, I don't know if he's actually gonna be Tombstone or whatever. Then obviously at the end of episode 5, he was like, I'm gonna call you Tombstone, and I was like, ah, shit. So Lonnie's arc is very interesting because obviously, it goes from him being like sort of like the superstar quarterback guy to now he has to get his little brother out of the 110, the street gang, and he's like. He'll trade his little brother for him and he'll do whatever work that they got him to do. So, obviously he's just trying to help his family and sort of be the good guy. But obviously towards the end of like the newest episodes, you could see him sort of, betray all that and sort of just be like, I want to, like, he starts liking the gang. Like he starts liking hanging out with them and sort of what it means to be within that group. And yeah, it is just, it's just so interesting to see like this character be brought into that world in a way that is like, it makes sense, right? Because like, I was just thinking like, how the fuck are they going to turn him into Tombstone? But obviously getting him within like gang relations and everything like that, even though he necessarily didn't want to, now it's something that he's becoming more attached to.
It's just cool to see a show like this take like, someone like Tombstone, who isn't like the most popular Spider-Man villain, and kind of make him like the central subplot. Because, a lot of time in these other Spider-Man shows or whatever, usually it's like Harry that's having a lot of issues and maybe him turning into more of a villain, or like maybe like Eddie Brock or something, like, usually like a more popular villain / character. So it's really interesting to see like, to just make it like Tombstone that's getting all this attention. Like, I think that's like really cool. And, so far it's been very believable the way he's been kind of going about it. Like, him getting his little brother out of the gang. So he's like, I'm going to take his place instead. All his friends being like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? And now him basically fully joining the gang at this point. Cause it's like, like where else he's going to go at this point. So I think all that stuff has been like really good and has all the hallmarks of a classic tragic Spider-Man villain / like hero moment, right? Like, seeing like his downfall, it has been pretty unfortunate. And, again, I'm like kind of shocked with like the show is like a bit more, not edgy, but is a bit more like they're not afraid to like curse or they're not afraid to show some blood or whatever, because it just makes the show feel a bit more believable, right? Like I don't feel like it's holding too many punches, which is great because I'm so used to having so many baby Spider-Man shows. It's cool to see one that's like more faithful to the material,
Yeah, just treating the audience as like, people, you know, just
like, it's still not like it's not like Daredevil or anything, but but it's, you know, like, it's not afraid to be like, you know, this is the world, right? So
you know, this fucking guy getting stabbed by a scorpion, like the people are showing that clip like, because it's like, holy shit, like that was like,
holy fuck.
That was a moment, because it's like, yo, like you don't show that normally. And then when Peter got stabbed by it, I was like, oh my god, you know, like they use the sort of steel beam to cover where he was actually getting stabbed, but you know what that means in the context of like the show, if you will. So yeah, another thing that I love about Lonnie is that like he's a parallel to Peter. Like he's pretty much doing the same thing that Peter's doing. It's just that instead of being Spider-Man, he's doing this gang stuff, and sort of how that stuff will clash and collide, because, you know, they started to become really good friends. And, you know, at a certain point, I believe within episode 7 or 8, he's like, hey man, like don't fucking do this. Like I'm telling you, this is a mistake. Please don't do this. And he's like, you don't know what this is about, Peter. You don't know shit. You know, like just go back and do your goddamn science homework with Pearl or whatever. You know, like he thinks that he's like a sheltered kid, but like Peter's been through, especially at that point. I think that was after the Scorpion fight. So like he's been through a lot. Like he knows what it means to get up all up in this stuff. But obviously Lonnie doesn't know that, and obviously Peter doesn't know that he knows, etc., etc. So yeah, you know, just like that chunk of episodes was like very, very good. Obviously 6 through 8 is something that a lot of people are talking about now because it's the most recent episodes, but also it's just really fucking good. Obviously we get to see more of Doc Ock, which is, you know, peak perfect. I love the way that they are positioning him as sort of like a enemy to Norman, and sort of how Norman is using Peter / Spider-Man to go and get closer to him, because you see a lot of that stuff. Like it's sort of getting more clear as to what Norman is potentially hiding and sort of what his motives are, but we still don't know yet, right? So
I love his design too. Like Doc Ock is just like comic ass accurate Doc Ock. Yeah. I also love the little references to like a lot of the other Spider-Man material. Like it's just like harness the power of the sun. Like, no, he's not gonna do that. So like, you know, very, very fun reference to Spider-Man 2. So I like that.
And also just like obviously the Daredevil fight scene, obviously, I mean, episode 6, you know, dude, dueling with the devil.
Like, I hear his fucking theme and like instantly like, yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah, it's time to lock in. The moment I heard that theme, I was like, oh shit, they really did it. They really pulled that theme from the Netflix show. It's not obviously a exact one, but it is very
of it too.
Yes, it is very close that you could be like, oh shit, this is Daredevil, and you know he fucking kicks Peter's ass. And you know, this is the first time we've seen these characters in like a mainstream piece of media like interact with each other in costume, and that was so much fun to see. And sort of how Daredevil is like sort of planting this seed in Peter's head that's like, hey, Norman's a bad guy, like he's hiding something. And you know, when Peter talks to Norman, he said that you were hiding something. I was like, bro, this is information you fucking keep to yourself. But obviously he's like, you know, a fucking teenager in high school, and he thinks Norman's the good guy. So, you know, he doesn't really know exactly, you know, right from wrong kind of thing, or like sort of playing with the information that you have, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it is very understandable as to why he would straight up just tell Norman, yeah, he said that you were hiding stuff. I was like, okay, duh.
I really hope we do see more Daredevil, because it would make sense, because it would be weird if like Matt said that and like not follow up on his investigation on Oscorp or whatever. And it would be cool to see once Peter fully realized that like, you know, Norman's not on his side, he would try to track down Daredevil again to be like, hey, like what else do you know about this, right? Like I know I'm just saying that because I just want to see more Daredevil, but it would be really neat to see. So because he looked great too. Like the fight scene was like a lot of fun as well. So I don't even know if Peter even has like spider sense in this, because I feel like he's been like when they haven't showed the visual of like Spidey sense, I don't think, besides the opening, and like a lot of things like he probably should have dodged, he just hasn't, because you know he's like newer to it. So I wonder if that's like a thing he's gonna like sort of like unlock in the fucking future. Because you know with Matt, he's obviously doing his like fucking hearing shit, so he's able to like dodge everything pretty easily. So I do wonder if like that's gonna be a thing that Spider-Man gets later. But either way, it was a pretty good fight scene. It kind of goes into the show's like only weakness being the animation, where sometimes it locks the fuck in and sometimes it doesn't. So like, that's my only constant complaint about the show. It's like the inconsistent animation quality, but I'm starting to get more used to it as the show goes on. So
yeah. You know, obviously Peter. I was trying to say Nico and Peter. Peter and Nico, you know, their relationship is obviously like very topsy-turvy kind of thing. You know, at the end of episode 5, you know, he brings Harry along and he's like, oh, that's probably not a good idea, because you could very much tell that Nico was like, I kind of don't want him here for like our movie night date kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then once, it is revealed that she knows, because Harry was like, I thought you told her, bro, kind of thing, which, is also understandable, because it's like, why the fuck didn't he tell her kind of thing?
Yeah.
But, I obviously we all understand from like Spider-Man's perspective, like the less people that know who he is, they're safer that way. Yeah. So, and obviously with the whole, Pearl and Lonnie thing, it is sort of like that sort of same parallel that he has at school where, Pearl's like, why wouldn't he tell me? And then he's like, well, sometimes we hide things from our loved ones to keep them safe kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't know if you should be telling that her now, bro. Like she's going through it. Maybe you should be a little more supportive, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought like all that scenes. Again, Nico's like just a really good character. I've been really vibing with her at the moment. Like they kind of tease a thing where she might like I don't know if she's a comic character. I think she is. I don't know, yeah. But she has like her weird pendant thing that like did some stuff. Her pendant thing
that shines and then she like knows what to do or something. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with her character, but it's cool to see her maybe potentially having powers as well and helping Peter out or something. And I think that'd be a cool little dynamic they have over there. But yeah, I think their friendship has been really cool so far, and I really like her and Harry like sort of interacting with each other as well. And then then we get to like Scorpion stuff. I think they've done Scorpion pretty well in this. Like, first him just acting like, like the gang leader, and then him talking to Otto to get his like actual Scorpion tail. And then like we discussed, like the violence he does is like pretty insane for a show like this. Like just fucking impale some guy.
Straight up killed him. It is really crazy to see how this show is making Scorpion such a force of nature, right? Like I feel like there has not been a mainstream piece of Spider-Man material of recent years that has made Scorpion this threatening, where he beats the shit out of Peter so bad. Like there's a scene where like Scorpion's just on top and just beating him up, and like it pans up and like the music, it's like very tense, it's very dreadful. I'm like, oh my god, bro, like this show is so good. Like it just makes you feel certain things when obviously action happens, and seeing Peter lose his first big fight, it really affects him, right? Like he's as soon as he wakes up, he's like, oh shit, like I gotta stop him. Like he's out there, everyone's in danger, etc., etc. Even though like he almost fucking died doing that, like he wants to protect people, and he wants to be sort of like that hero of New York, whether it's him or someone else. He just wants to make sure that people are safe.
Yeah, and I like it. Like this was like his first like major villain. Basically, like all the other villains were like D tier villains, basically. So him finding like an actual like comic villain like Scorpion and getting his ass beat because he's so inexperienced. I think that was a great way to like show he has a lot of learning to do, and like how dangerous his job really is, right? Because like he's like an actual psychopath Scorpion, and he's just a kid, and it's just like, oh well, I can't do this shit, but he also has to do it because he's Spider-Man, right? So
yeah. And even making it better where he's just like so cocky. He's like, oh, look, I'm getting pretty good at this stuff, Mr. Osborn. And I'm like, ah, shit, like he already used all of his web fluid and all that stuff. So, obviously that was his downfall, and, he'll know what to do for next time. And sort of like the glider coming in as soon as Norman realized that like Peter was in danger. I'm like, oh shit, that's gonna come back later. Obviously,
yes,
Norman has something cooking up behind the scenes that Peter doesn't know about, or we know about, for a matter of fact. So I'm excited to see where that goes for that character in particular. But yeah, just seeing Peter have like that sort of like breakdown, like after the fight with like Aunt May and everything like that. I'm like, oh my god, like I was feeling it. I was feeling the tears kind of coming, but they didn't come out. I was like, shit, man, like this guy, he just wants to do the right fucking thing, and everything's messed up. Nico's not talking to him, etc., etc. So just that conversation that he had with May, and I love that this show constantly brings up Uncle Ben. I love that. I love that, even though that like he died before Peter got bit, like there are still lessons to be learned with Uncle Ben, which, is still like I think that I'm worried about, where it's like, where does he learn great power comes great responsibility, which is where the writing comes in. The fucking writing comes in, where Norman says, with great power comes great respect. I'm like, oh, that was a great twist.
Very, very in character with Norman. Just being like, yeah, if you have great power, you should demand great respect. Like that really fits his character, and I'm glad he really didn't say great power comes great responsibility, because that's not where, he's not going to get it from that character. So that was such a great twist on that line. I agree. This writing is fire.
Yes, as soon as that line came out, I was like, hold up, wait, they're fucking frying here.
Yeah.
Like, obviously before that, episode 7 was great because of the whole Scorpion fight, but like that line, I was like, okay, like these guys know what they're doing. Shout out to the showrunner Jeff Trammell. Like he is so fucking good. And like I cannot wait to see, like I said earlier, what they have planned for the rest of the season, and obviously the last 2 episodes with the finale. Because like they know what they're doing. And having Harry say go get him, Tiger, right before we see the sort of classic suit go on, I'm like, okay, yeah, like we're in for a fantastic sort of like last 2 episodes here. And all of these other characters sort of popping in and out, like the Chameleon, showing the 110th Street Gang where these weapons are. I wonder how that's gonna look on the finale, etc., etc. So, yeah, obviously this first season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is very, very good. I feel like if you have Disney Plus, you should definitely be watching this. Obviously, this is something we've been spoiling this entire time. But yeah, if you know anyone that likes Spider-Man and you're watching the show yourself, you should definitely recommend it to them because I cannot sing its praises enough. This is one of the best Spider-Man cartoon shows since the Spectacular Spider-Man, and it might even surpass it just because they know what to do now from that show and sort of how they're twisting it into this new series.
It just feels very unique just because they have all this Marvel stuff they could pull from, but also not like too much. Like I think the show's been doing a good job making sure it is about Spider-Man first and foremost. Like, it's about him because it's a Spider-Man show, but it's also not afraid to show all these other heroes or what's going on in the world. And I really like that. Like, there's a lot of moving parts in this show. Like, we're obviously not going to deal with Otto like this season, but like they're setting that up. Obviously the Norman stuff, the Accords are happening with, like the Civil War stuff. Like there's like a ton happening in the background, which I really like. Like there's just like so much going on where you want to see more of these characters and where it's going to go. Because obviously these final 2 episodes are probably just going to deal with Scorpion and just getting rid of him. But like, there's so much more to this version of Spider-Man than, I thought. So really pleasantly surprised with this show. It's been like honestly like really good, and I didn't know how much I was dying for a good Spider-Man show, but I have been, man. It's been a very long time. So I definitely want to rewatch Spectacular Spider-Man. I probably might do that soonish because I kind of want to see how they compare. Maybe once the show's further along, maybe I'll do that because Spectacular is still like the gold standard of a Spider-Man show or even like just thing in general. So I'm excited to see how this one maybe surpasses it in the future. We'll see. But so far this has been a really good series. I've been very surprised, very happy with it too. So hey man, I was too harsh and I never judge a book by its cover, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think it all has to do with the fact that they pivoted from a sort of like what if scenario, sort of very tied to like very tied to like Spider-Man freshman year is what it was first called, just being like a backstory to Tom Holland's Spider-Man and sort of constraining it in that bubble. But now that it's like, it's a what if scenario of like, what if Peter was bit with the spider, but it's still tied to the MCU. There's still things in the background like the Sokovia Accords, like Peter wasn't there for that because, he doesn't talk to the fucking Avengers like that kind of thing, just seeing how they're able to have the MCU stuff in here, but also still make a great Spider-Man show while twisting these characters around in new and interesting ways and have them fit their personalities and characters. It's like, I love it. And I cannot wait to see what they do with literally everyone from Peter to Nico to Harry to Norman, everything. Daredevil, maybe, who knows? Who knows? But
I would love to see more Daredevil.
But yeah, I'm very, very pleased with this show, and I cannot wait for us to talk about the finale, which is going to happen next week, but you'll hear that from us 2 weeks from now. So, Damian, is there anything else you'd like to say before I close the show?
No, that's about everything.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 157. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more, whatever. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.